The night everything changed, Rebecca was standing in her kitchen at 2 in the morning, unable to sleep, making chamomile tea she didn't really want. She was 44 years old, a widow for 3 years now, and she had grown accustomed to these lonely hours when the house felt too quiet and the memories of her husband felt too loud. What she didn't expect was the sound of the front door opening, followed by 2 sets of footsteps and her son's voice calling out, "Mom, are you still awake? I brought someone who needs help." She walked into the living room and found her 23-year-old son, Tyler, supporting his best friend, Ethan, who was clearly intoxicated and had a nasty cut above his eyebrow. But it wasn't the blood or the alcohol that made Rebecca's heart stop. It was the look in Ethan's eyes when he saw her. A look of such profound despair that it transported her back to the darkest days after her husband's death, when she herself had worn that same expression. What happened next would destroy the life she had carefully rebuilt. It would cost her the respect of her community, the trust of her son, and nearly her own sanity. But it would also give her something she never thought she would find again, a love so consuming that it made everything else seem insignificant. Before you judge her, before you decide what kind of woman would fall in love with her son's best friend, you need to understand the truth about that night. Because the story everyone thinks they know is not the story that actually happened. Ethan had been part of Rebecca's life since he was 14 years old. He and Tyler had met on the first day of high school, bonded over their shared love of basketball, and become inseparable within weeks. From then on, Ethan was a constant presence in her home, eating dinner with them at least twice a week, spending holidays and birthdays as an unofficial member of the family. Rebecca had watched him grow from an awkward teenager into a handsome young man. She had helped him with homework, given him advice about college applications, and comforted him when his parents' marriage fell apart during his senior year. In many ways, she had been more of a mother to him than his own mother, who had moved across the country after the divorce and rarely bothered to call. But she had never, not once, thought of him as anything other than her son's friend. Her child, in a sense, just like Tyler. The idea that she could develop romantic feelings for him would have seemed not just inappropriate but impossible. That all changed the night Tyler brought him home bleeding. While Rebecca cleaned the cut on Ethan's forehead, Tyler explained what had happened. Ethan's father had remarried 6 months ago, and tonight, at the wedding reception for his stepsister, his new stepmother had announced that she was pregnant. Something about the announcement had triggered Ethan. He had started drinking, gotten into a fight with a cousin, and called Tyler to pick him up before things got worse. "I'm going to get him some water and aspirin," Tyler said, heading for the kitchen. "Can you make sure he doesn't pass out?" Left alone with Ethan, Rebecca sat beside him on the couch and gently pressed a cold cloth against his wound. He was crying now, silently, tears streaming down his face as he stared at nothing. "I'm being replaced," he whispered. "My dad is starting a whole new family. A new wife, a new baby. It's like my mom and I never existed." Rebecca's heart broke for him. She knew what it felt like to be forgotten, to be pushed aside, to wonder if you ever really mattered to someone you loved. After her husband died, she had discovered that he had been planning to ask for a divorce. He had been having an affair with a colleague for over a year. The man she had loved for 20 years, the father of her son, had been counting down the days until he could leave her. She had never told anyone that secret. Not Tyler, not her sisters, not her closest friends. She had buried it along with her husband and pretended to grieve a love that had already died before he did. But something about Ethan's pain, the rawness of it, the way it mirrored her own hidden wounds, made her speak without thinking. "I understand," she said softly. "I know exactly how it feels to realize that someone you loved never really loved you back." Ethan looked at her then, really looked at her, and she saw a question in his eyes. She found herself telling him everything. The affair, the planned divorce, the years of marriage that had apparently been a lie. Words poured out of her that she had kept locked inside for 3 years, and Ethan listened without interrupting, his own tears drying as he focused on her story. When she finished, she felt lighter than she had in years. And also terrified. She had just shared her deepest secret with her son's best friend, a young man who was clearly in no state to be anyone's confidant. "I'm sorry," she said quickly. "I shouldn't have told you all that. You have your own problems, and I just dumped mine on you like." "No," Ethan interrupted, his voice suddenly clear despite the alcohol. "Thank you. Thank you for trusting me with that. You're the first person who's ever talked to me like I'm not just some kid who doesn't understand anything." Their eyes met, and something passed between them. Something neither of them was ready to name or acknowledge. The moment was broken when Tyler returned with water and aspirin, and the rest of the night passed without incident. Ethan slept on the couch, Rebecca went to bed, and by morning, everything seemed to be back to normal. But it wasn't. Something had shifted, and they both knew it. Over the following weeks, Ethan began finding excuses to come over even when Tyler wasn't home. He would offer to help Rebecca with yard work, or fix the leaky faucet in the bathroom, or simply stop by to check on her. At first, Rebecca told herself it was just gratitude, just the natural closeness that comes from sharing secrets. But she couldn't ignore the way her heart raced when she heard his car pull into the driveway. She couldn't pretend she didn't think about him at odd moments throughout the day. She couldn't deny the electricity that seemed to crackle between them whenever they were in the same room. She was disgusted with herself. This was Ethan. The boy she had watched grow up, had practically helped raise. He was her son's best friend, for God's sake. What kind of woman developed feelings for someone like that? What kind of mother? She tried to create distance. She started making excuses when Ethan offered to help with things. She kept their conversations short and superficial. She avoided being alone with him whenever possible. But Ethan was persistent, and more than that, he was perceptive. He knew something had changed between them, and he wasn't willing to let it go. The confrontation happened on a Sunday afternoon in early autumn. Tyler was away for the weekend at a job interview in another city, and Ethan had shown up unannounced with groceries, claiming he wanted to cook dinner for Rebecca as a thank you for all the meals she had made him over the years. She should have sent him away. She knew she should have sent him away. Instead, she found herself standing beside him in the kitchen, chopping vegetables while he prepared a marinade, their shoulders occasionally brushing in a way that felt far too intimate. "Rebecca," he said suddenly, and the use of her first name instead of Mrs. Parker, or Tyler's mom, sent a shiver down her spine. "We need to talk about what's happening between us." She kept her eyes fixed on the cutting board. "Nothing is happening between us. That's not true, and we both know it." He set down the bowl he was holding and turned to face her. "I can't stop thinking about you. I haven't been able to stop thinking about you since that night. And I don't think I'm imagining that you feel the same way." Rebecca finally looked up at him, and what she saw in his eyes made her knees weak. It wasn't lust, though that was certainly there. It was something deeper, more tender. Something that looked terrifyingly like love. "Ethan, this is insane," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm 44 years old. You're 23. I've known you since you were a child. And Tyler. God, Tyler would never forgive either of us." "I know all of that," Ethan replied. "I've thought about nothing else for weeks. But here's what I keep coming back to. I have never felt about anyone the way I feel about you. Not girls my own age, not anyone. When I'm with you, everything makes sense. When I'm not with you, I feel like I'm just waiting until I can see you again." He took a step closer to her, close enough that she could smell his cologne, could see the flecks of gold in his brown eyes. "Tell me you don't feel the same way," he said softly. "Tell me honestly that you don't feel anything for me, and I'll walk out that door right now. I'll go back to being Tyler's friend who comes over for dinner sometimes. We'll pretend this conversation never happened. Rebecca opened her mouth to say exactly that. To deny everything, to send him away, to choose the safe and sensible path. But the words wouldn't come. Because she couldn't lie to him. Not after he had been the first person she had ever been truly honest with. "I can't tell you that," she admitted, tears streaming down her face. "And that's what terrifies me." Ethan reached out and gently wiped her tears away. "Then let's figure this out together. I'm not asking you to run away with me or announce anything to the world. I'm just asking for a chance. A chance to prove that what I feel is real." Against every instinct telling her to run, Rebecca nodded. And when Ethan leaned in and kissed her softly, she let herself kiss him back. The months that followed were the most conflicted of Rebecca's life. She and Ethan began a secret relationship, meeting when Tyler was at work or away, communicating through texts they immediately deleted, living a double life that grew more exhausting with each passing day. But it was also the happiest she had been since before her husband's betrayal. Ethan made her feel seen in a way she had never experienced. He asked about her dreams, her fears, her opinions on everything from politics to pizza toppings. He remembered details from conversations they had had weeks earlier. He supported her decision to go back to school for the nursing degree she had abandoned when she got pregnant with Tyler at 21. For his part, Ethan flourished under her attention. He became more confident, more focused, more certain of his path in life. He started taking his career seriously, got promoted twice at his job, began saving money for the future. Rebecca gave him the stability and encouragement he had never received from his own fractured family. But the guilt was always there, a constant undercurrent beneath their happiness. Every time Tyler mentioned how great it was that his mom and his best friend got along so well, Rebecca felt like she was going to be sick. Every family dinner where Ethan sat at the table pretending to be nothing more than a friend, she died a little inside. The secret came out in the worst possible way. Tyler came home early from work one afternoon, complaining of a headache, and found them sitting together on the back porch, holding hands. For a moment, nobody moved. Then Tyler's face went through a series of expressions, confusion to disbelief to horror to rage, each one more devastating than the last. "What the hell is this?" he demanded, his voice shaking with fury. Rebecca stood up, her heart pounding so hard she thought it might burst. "Tyler, please, let me explain." "Explain what?" "That you're sleeping with my best friend. That you've been lying to me, both of you, doing God knows what behind my back." He turned to Ethan, his childhood friend, his brother in every way that mattered. "How could you? How could you do this to me?" Ethan stood his ground, though Rebecca could see how much this was costing him. "I love her, Tyler. I know that's hard to hear, but it's the truth. I love your mother." Tyler laughed, but it was a harsh, broken sound. "Love? You're 23 years old. You don't know anything about love. You're just a kid who's been manipulated by—" "Don't you dare," Rebecca interrupted, her own anger rising to meet her son's. "Don't you dare call me a manipulator. I fought this, Tyler. I fought it harder than I've ever fought anything in my life. But I couldn't change how I feel, and neither could he." "You couldn't change how you feel?" Tyler repeated, his voice dripping with disgust. "You're my mother. He's been my best friend since we were 14. Do you have any idea how twisted this is?" The argument continued for hours, voices rising and falling, tears shed on all sides. By the end of it, Tyler had stormed out of the house, declaring that he never wanted to see either of them again. Rebecca collapsed on the couch, sobbing, while Ethan held her and promised they would find a way through this. But privately, he wasn't sure they would. The following months were the hardest of Rebecca's life. Tyler refused to return her calls or answer her texts. He moved out of the area without telling her where he was going. Her sisters, when they found out the truth, reacted with varying degrees of shock and judgment. One stopped speaking to her entirely. The other maintained a strained politeness that was almost worse than open hostility. The community whispers were relentless. Rebecca overheard neighbors gossiping about her at the grocery store, saw the sidelong glances at church, felt the invisible wall that had been erected between her and the life she had known. She was that woman now. The one who seduced her son's young friend. The predator. The disgrace. Ethan faced his own battles. His relationship with Tyler, the friendship that had defined his entire adolescence, was destroyed. His co-workers made snide comments when they discovered who he was dating. His father, who had always been emotionally distant, used this as an excuse to cut ties entirely. "Sometimes I wonder if we made a mistake," Rebecca confessed one night, lying in Ethan's arms in the darkness. "Not about us, but about how we handled it. Maybe we should have told Tyler ourselves before he found out." "Maybe," Ethan agreed. "But we can't change the past. We can only decide what to do now." "And what do we do now?" Ethan was quiet for a long moment. "We keep loving each other. We keep building our life together. We give Tyler time and space, and we hope that someday he'll be able to forgive us. What if he never does? Then we live with that. Together." It was 2 years before Tyler finally reached out. 2 years of silence, of birthdays and holidays that passed without contact, of Rebecca crying herself to sleep wondering if she would ever see her son again. The phone call came on a random Tuesday evening, and Rebecca almost didn't answer because she didn't recognize the number. "Mom." Tyler's voice was hesitant, uncertain, so different from the confident young man she remembered. Rebecca burst into tears. "Tyler." "Oh God, Tyler, I've missed you so much." There was a long pause. "I've missed you too. I've been doing a lot of thinking. A lot of therapy, actually. And I think I'm ready to talk." They met at a coffee shop in a neutral location, a place that held no memories for either of them. Tyler looked older, more weathered, as if the past 2 years had aged him beyond his 25 years. Rebecca resisted the urge to reach out and hug him, not knowing if her touch would be welcome. "I'm not going to pretend I'm okay with everything," Tyler began, stirring his coffee without drinking it. "I'm still processing it. I might be processing it for the rest of my life. But my therapist helped me realize something important." "What's that?" Tyler looked up at her, and she saw tears in his eyes. "She helped me realize that you're not just my mother. You're a person. A woman who spent years in a marriage that wasn't what it seemed, who was betrayed by someone she trusted, who's been lonely and hurting for longer than I ever knew." Rebecca reached across the table and took her son's hand. He didn't pull away. "I'm not saying I approve," Tyler continued. "I'm not saying it doesn't still feel weird and uncomfortable. But I'm saying that I love you, and I don't want to spend any more of my life pretending you don't exist." "What about Ethan?" Rebecca asked carefully. Tyler sighed. "That's going to take longer. He was my best friend. Losing him felt almost as bad as losing you." He paused. "But if he makes you happy, if this is really the real thing, then I want to try. For your sake, if nothing else." The reconciliation was slow and often painful. There were setbacks, arguments, moments when it seemed like the wounds were too deep to ever fully heal. But gradually, painstakingly, they rebuilt their family. Tyler started coming to dinner again, awkwardly at first, barely able to look at Ethan. Over time, the awkwardness faded, replaced by a tentative new dynamic that none of them could have predicted. On Rebecca's 50th birthday, Tyler gave a toast at her small party. He looked at his mother, then at Ethan, who was standing beside her with his arm around her waist. 6 years ago, I thought my world had ended, Tyler said. I thought I had lost my mother and my best friend in one horrible moment. And for a while, I had. But something my therapist said stuck with me. She said that families aren't defined by blood or by what society expects. They're defined by the people who show up for each other, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. He raised his glass. Mom, Ethan, you showed up for each other when the entire world told you not to. You showed up for each other when I was too angry and hurt to understand. And eventually, you showed up for me too, waiting patiently until I was ready to come back. His voice cracked slightly. So here's to unconventional families. Here's to love that doesn't make sense on paper. And here's to second chances. Rebecca was crying too hard to respond, but she didn't need words. The embrace she shared with her son said everything that needed to be said. Ethan and Rebecca were married the following year, in a small ceremony attended by Tyler, Rebecca's one supportive sister, a few close friends who had stood by them, and Ethan's grandmother, who had flown in from Florida specifically for the occasion. Tyler served as Ethan's best man, a gesture that meant more to both men than they could ever express. In her wedding speech, Rebecca said something that would stay with everyone who heard it. When I was young, I thought I knew what love looked like. I thought it followed rules, met expectations, made sense to everyone around you. Then I met a man who challenged every single one of those assumptions. He wasn't what I expected. He wasn't what anyone expected. But he saw me, the real me, in a way no one ever had before. And I spent too many years of my life caring about what other people thought. I'm done with that now. I choose love. I choose this love. And I'll keep choosing it every single day for the rest of my life. Years later, when Rebecca was in her 60s and Ethan in his 40s, they would look back on their journey with a mixture of wonder and gratitude. They had built a life together filled with travel, with laughter, with the simple joy of waking up next to someone who truly knew you. They had weathered storms that would have destroyed lesser couples. And they had emerged on the other side, not unscathed but unbroken. Tyler eventually married and had children of his own. He brought them to visit Grandma and Uncle Ethan, as the kids called him, no longer finding anything strange about the arrangement. It was simply their family, the only one they had ever known. On Rebecca's 70th birthday, surrounded by her son, her grandchildren, and the man who had transformed her life against all odds, she thought about the woman she had been 26 years earlier. The widow going through the motions of living, burying secrets alongside her unfaithful husband, convinced that love and passion were things that belonged to her past. If she could go back and tell that woman anything, it would be this: the loves that transform us are rarely the ones we expect. They don't arrive on schedule or in appropriate packaging. Sometimes they come disguised as impossibility, as scandal, as the destruction of everything you thought you knew. But if you're brave enough to follow them, if you're willing to burn down your old life to make room for something new, they can lead you to places you never dreamed possible. If this story made you feel something real, something that challenged what you thought you believed about love and family, I want to hear from you. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever experienced a love that others didn't understand? Have you ever had to choose between what was expected and what felt true? Hit that like button if you believe that love is bigger than the boxes we try to put it in. And if you want more stories that explore the complicated, beautiful, messy truth of human connection, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss one. Because these stories, the ones that make us think and feel and question, these are the ones that remind us what it means to be alive.